definitely say give it a shot. If you're unsure, do a group session first, because I've seen the value of the group session. I'm actually wanting to go private and get some private tutoring from Ruby now. While I did get a lot of benefit, and while for me there's a lot of, I mean, this is probably the greatest benefit I've had in my dating life. I mean, it's the last 10 weeks have been just phenomenal. You know, it really has me going, okay, I want to continue to work with Ruby because she helped me out with so much. I'm like, okay, well, let's continue this for a few more months. So if you're curious about it, I say give a group session a shot. But if you're still on the fence, or you're like, no, this stuff doesn't work, or no, this stuff is crap, or yeah, definitely, there's nothing. The only thing I really say is get that out of your head, because she helps. She's not like a lot of these others who try to help you go after a woman, or like they'll break them down like, okay, you got a scale of 1 to 10, go for the 9s and 10s. You know, what she will help you do is she helps you find where your value lies, what makes you valuable, what makes you attractive. And so you start there with yourself, and then you're able to work out from there. And when you find your self-worth, that is where the value of the program really hit for me. I have pretty much mastered the friend zone. And, you know, she and I, we hit it off, and we were talking about, I can't remember how all of this discussion happened, but at some point, I was like, okay, she and I were having, our conversation is going really, really well, so I might as well go ahead and ask her to coffee. Because I figure, you know, coffee is a very good, safe thing to ask a young lady to. And then she suggested going out to get some drinks tonight. I was like, awesome. And so she was out of town when we initially started trying to set up the date. So she was going to be out of town for a couple of weeks. So we've been texting this entire time. And then she was the one who texted me like, hey, are we still going out? So, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. And so this other young woman I met, there's another date I'm talking to and potentially I'm setting up. She is I can't remember what this other woman's profession is, but she's an actual professional, you know, 8 to 5 job. And this other woman I'm talking to through Coffee Meets Bagel has been a nurse for 12 years.
Wow.
So it is definitely the end result of the course has definitely boosted my confidence. Has really, really helped me a lot. And when I say helping me meet quality women, I mean, you know, the quality women, the women who are professional, have their head on their shoulders, who are actually looking for something serious.
Fantastic. I have a special guest with me today. His name is Justin, and he is someone that has taken and given his investment of time and energy into one of my group programs. So I'm excited to have him here because I think he has a really great attitude towards it, and he's made really great strides, and he's here open to sharing his story with you guys. So hi, Justin. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
Great. So let's just hop right in. If you can you just give a little summary of, you know, who you are, what you do, your kind of dating experience before me, and just kind of a quick sum up of how you're feeling now, or just so the audience can get a feel for you.
Well, my name is Justin. I live in Nashville. I'm a business analyst for a healthcare company, and my past dating experience has been a combination of either massive failures before I can get the date or massive failures on the date. Either way, some of them have led to some very great funny stories. And so because of my past, I would get a little bit, or not a little bit, but very nervous in approaching women, just automatically getting myself rejected or friend zoned before I would even approach a woman. So that's
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, so and how are you feeling now?
a lot different. Going through this program really helped boost my confidence, because some of the stuff that we worked on allowed
Mhm.
me to see the things that I truly desired, the things that I also to realize that are probably the most attractive things about myself, and also narrow down what I'm looking for, and looking for different, things that are like, common points of interest between me and a woman, and then being able to appreciate her differences while putting mine out there, and having these talking points that we can, both engage in, and just really finding out what makes me an interesting person.
Fantastic. All right, a lot of self-growth, you'd say.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Great. So speaking of which, let's transition. What was the biggest obstacle you think you've overcome in this?
Oh, yeah. So I have pretty much mastered the friend zone, and uh, and there was a situation here where, before I started talking to, really discovered you, I started putting myself in these little challenges where I had to go make connections. And back in January, there's this one woman I made a connection with. We hit it off. I got her number. And so I'm thinking, great, she and I were going to have a shot at dating. But long story short, the situation was really, really messed up. And I wound up getting friend zoned. And so throughout this whole thing, my godfather, my friends who all saw it and heard about it, even my family, they were telling me that this was a toxic relationship. And, I noticed that even in some ways it started affecting my self-worth. And at one point I'd actually expressed my interest in this woman a couple of times. And when she basically said she only saw us as friends at that first point, normally there's that distance that most women I've had that encounter with put a distance there. They're like, we're going to let this cool off and then we can be friends later on. Well, with her, we just started hanging out more. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, maybe there's a shot. And, all my friends were able to see that I'm, being led on. And when I saw Ruby's advice on this situation, what wound up happening is, one night she and we were hanging out, and I decided to make my move, and told her, said, look, you know, I still have feelings for you. I think we should date and give it a shot. And she said, well, I'm sorry. I just see you as a friend. And I just finally spoke up and said, that doesn't work for me. I can't stand by and hear you talk about how all your exes are jerks, how the only guys who pursue you are jerks, that you can't find a good guy while you're talking to a good guy. So this whole just friends thing doesn't work for me anymore. And I cannot stand by and watch you end up with a jerk. And she said, well, what are you saying? Are you saying you don't want to be friends? And I said, I don't know what that fully means. All I know is I can't be just friends with you anymore. And she said, okay. And I said, good night. And I left. So while, rejection in general sucks, I actually felt empowered because I knew I needed to get away from this situation. But also, too, I knew I needed to put myself out there, and I knew I needed to prove to myself I could walk away from a situation when it was not in my best interest.
Yes.
And, this whole thing was not in my best interest. So I have not spoken to this young woman since this happened. And this happened, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And every story I post on Instagram, I notice she's one of the first ones to watch it now. So yeah, and it's
You left an impression on her.
yeah, something. Yeah, so it's like, but yeah, seriously, it was, I will repeat, while I got rejected, there was something very empowering to me about that, being able to put myself out there and walk away. And one of the things I learned is, rejection is not that bad. If she says no, move on. There are other women out there.
Yes.
And as Ruby said in one of our discussions, every rejection, every bad date, every breakup puts you one step closer to the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And so with me, she's obviously not the one, and I'm not going to sit here and just continue to hope and pine after her and hope that things work out, because that could actually prevent me from finding someone who's even a better fit for me.
Exactly. As you were telling the story, I was already getting excited. I was like, yeah, Justin, go. Because people forget to value themselves and recognize what they really deserve. And even though, like you said, of course, any rejection hurts, but at the same time, you have finally really found your worth. And you recognize that, she's not the end game. It's not like because it doesn't work there, it's going to just not work with anyone else. You just know what kind of relationship that you want. And so kind of continuing and moving forward after that, did you feel that that also helped you in moving forward? And I know you're talking about dates and things like that happening, but do you think that before that happened, it kind of stopped you, or kind of, put you slightly behind on actually going on dates with other people and being interested in them? And then how was that compared to how you are now and having that kind of off your shoulders, and then seeking, other women fully without her on your mind?
Oh, absolutely. It's because the thing is, with when I was still trying to go after her and I would go on these other dates because, again, friend zone, trying to find a way out of it. Um, I was not anticipating the dates as much, because, even when I'd go on the dates, I kept thinking, it'd be more fun with her, and, she was on my mind. So I didn't even care about getting a second date with any of these women. So the date that I have coming up tonight, I'm actually really excited about. And I think getting past this other young woman has put me in a state where I can actually look forward to going on dates with other women and actually saying, hey, maybe I can get a second date out of this if this one goes well. And so the other one, I think, was sabotaging me.
There you go. Great. And so now tell everybody where you're currently at. How are you getting dates where you're talking, just so they can get a feel for how you're finding these women and the dates that you have coming up and what kind of ladies they are?
Okay. So I've really been focusing on basically 3 apps: OkCupid, Coffee Meets Bagel, and The League. And don't get me wrong, I still have a Tinder account, but that one I'm not taking seriously at all because Tinder. But so the date I have with a woman now, she and I met on The League, and that one is one of those you have a wait list before you get approved, but they make sure you're an actual living human breathing person, and that you're not some bot. And so, she and I, we hit it off, and we were talking about, I can't remember how all of this discussion happened, but at some point, I was like, okay, she and I were having, our conversation is going really, really well, so I might as well go ahead and ask her to coffee. Because I figure, coffee is a very good, safe thing to ask a young lady to. And then she suggested going out to get some drinks tonight. I was like, awesome. And so she was out of town when we initially started trying to set up the date. So she was going to be out of town for a couple of weeks. So we've been texting this entire time. And then she was the one who texted me like, hey, are we still going out? So, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. And so this other young woman I met, there's another date I'm talking to and potentially am setting up. She is I can't remember what this other woman's profession is, but she's an actual professional, 8 to 5 job. And this other woman I'm talking to through Coffee Meets Bagel has been a nurse for 12 years.
Wow.
So the it is definitely the end result of the course has definitely boosted my confidence. Has really, really helped me a lot. And when I say helping me meet quality women, I mean the quality women, the women who are professional, have their head on their shoulders, who are actually looking for something serious.
Fantastic. Wow, you summed that up really well.
Oh, okay.
Because as you know, that's what I've been always telling people. I am someone that really tries to get you on dates, but quality dates. I'd rather you have some dates here and there, but you can tell these are fine quality ladies. Not just someone that is just there to have dinner with you and things like that. So speaking of which, why did you choose me and this program?
Okay, well, I had looked at other dating coaches and other dating programs, and there's some of them that started off seeming really good, but then they all turned into, they reveal their true colors, where they're basically just a bunch of pickup artists, and that's not me. They would tell you, no, we're helping guys try to find everlasting meaning relationships. So you're like, cool, you sign up for their mailing list, and then suddenly they're like, yeah, so I had this one client, he totally got laid with this really, really hot woman. Here's her picture, and you're just like, I'm like, okay, this is not what I got into. This is not what I want. That violates my own values. I don't believe in using people like that. And I think that's just a very shallow life to live. Interesting enough, one of those guys actually said that was a shallow life. Don't live that life, then promoted that lifestyle. Yeah, that still boggles my mind. And so the thing that really drew me to Ruby was I saw her TED Talk. And forgive me, I can't remember the title of it. But the thing that drew me to it is, living here in Nashville, just about every woman wants a guy who's at least 6 foot tall. If you're like me, you're 5'8" or 5'9", you're going to have to wear some really thick shoes to hit 6 feet. So that puts me out of the equation for a lot of them. And one of the things Ruby harped on was, one of the things women got to get over is the whole height issue. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So, but, and then she said some of the other things that just really caused me to go, okay, I got to check out her website. And when I checked out her website, I started noticing that, she's not like the other dating coaches. She really is about helping guys, good guys like us, find good quality women who will appreciate us for who and what we are. And so these other guys, like going through the stuff with Ruby has actually put me in a state where I don't even have to listen to those guys anymore. It's just like, nope, I'm off your mailing list now. Stop sending me these emails. And then if they keep sending me the emails, I go straight in the trash. But yeah.
No, thank you. And I really appreciate that message. And I've reiterated it probably in my emails and on my Facebook lives, but that's what I'm about. And the great thing is that, well, obviously you're on this video because I consider you a really good guy, a good-hearted guy who's just looking for that right partner, that obviously quality lady as well. So, with that state, this is an area that's very vulnerable for a lot of people, and not too many people would think that they would get to this point in their lives where they could have a coach for dating, right? There's a coach for everything else, but for some reason, in regards to dating, it's so taboo. But for you, obviously, at least you joined this other mailing list, so you're more open to that. So what do you have to say to people? You could talk about yourself, your journey, or direct message to them that think like that. What was your own thought process? Did you not think it was taboo at all for you, or what are your thoughts on that?
At first I did. At first I was like, oh my gosh. And, forgive me, but my thought initially was like, only a loser would need to do that. Well, I started thinking about it. I was also very opposed to therapy for a number of years. And, I started going to therapy about a little over a year ago to work on some issues. I had hit a point in therapy where I realized, or before therapy, I'd worked as far as I could on fixing myself, that I needed some external help.
Yeah.
So I started going to therapy, and, my first therapist really helped then. And then I changed therapists because my other one, left the field.
Yeah.
And so that got me thinking, okay, so I do karate. I did music for a number of years. People pay for private lessons on karate. They pay to go see a one-on-one therapist. They pay for life coaches. So we have all these areas of our lives where we've got them compartmentalized. We're like, okay, we've got to improve, our ability to ride a motorcycle. So we need someone who has more experience. So we go through that, which is also something I'm into as well. So we have all these other aspects of our lives where we get advice from people. We go to coaches. And when it comes to dating, somehow we're supposed to flounder all by ourselves. or
Mhm.
we go to advice, we get advice from friends who are just as clueless as we are, even though they might have had more dating relationships in the past, or we go to friends who have horrible marriages, you know.
You
So
mentioned that. It's very true. Everybody asks their friends, like, wait, are you sure you're supposed to be asking them? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, we've got all these other experts and other fields that we go to, so why not dating?
Hmm.
And so when I started looking at that, and I realized I needed help in this area, because a lot of it, I just didn't have the experience in the past that some of my peers have
Yeah.
had. That got me interested. And once I saw what Ruby offered, that it was drastically different than everything else out there, I knew that she was the one I wanted to go with.
Yay. Great. I know it's quite a process. And I love all the comparisons you did, especially in even with therapy and things like that. Oh, that's even taboo for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So lastly, once again, I really appreciate you being on here. And a lot of times people that are watching this video, they're usually on edge, kind of figuring out if they will invest or sign up for my program. So because they're watching this directly, I kind of want you to talk to them and say, what would you say to them if they were uncertain and they need someone like you to tell them some sort of message that would gear them to shift them one way or the other? What would you say to those guys?
I would definitely say give it a shot. If you're unsure, do a group session first, because I've seen the value of the group session. I'm actually wanting to go private and get some private tutoring from Ruby now. Um, while I did get a lot of benefit, and while for me there's a lot of, this is probably the greatest benefit I've had in my dating life. It's the last 10 weeks have been just phenomenal. Um, it really has me going, okay, I want to continue to work with Ruby because she helped me out with so much. I'm like, okay, well,
Mhm.
let's continue this for a few more months.
Mhm.
So if you're curious about it, I say give a group session a shot.
Mhm.
But if you're still on the fence, or you're like, no, this stuff doesn't work, or no, this stuff is crap, or yeah, definitely, there's nothing. The only thing I really say is get that out of your head, um, because she helps. She's not like a lot of these others who try to help you go after a woman, or like they'll break them down like, okay, you got a scale of 1 to 10, go for the nines and tens. What she will help you do is she helps you find where your value lies, what makes you valuable, what makes you attractive. And so you start there with yourself, and then you're able to work out from there. And when you find your self-worth, that is where the value of the program really hit for me.
Fantastic. Thank you. That was a very powerful message.
Uh,
And what I just want to pinpoint to everyone else listening too is that you just said, if you really don't feel like this is it, if you don't believe in this, then this probably isn't for you.
yeah,
And I've always stated that I can only help you guys so far in regards to mindset. I was trained in therapy, but I am not a therapist working with you. So if you already don't believe this is going to work, it's not going to work. But if you at least have the attitude, like you said, of let's just try, let's just do it, then that's really all we need to get started. And then from there, you're absolutely correct. I'm not really going to push you out of your own values. But at least you have that hope and belief and you're willing to do the work, then it could work. But if your mindset and is not there and you're negative, I'm sorry, I can give you all the strategies in the world. But if you can't get yourself to do it, then it's hard, right?
right.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
me today. It was a lot of fun and your story is very inspirational. But as everybody knows here, I'll be seeing you soon. Now we're doing one-on-one. And who knows, maybe you'll see another video from him in the future.
Right.
But thank you so much again.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.